Close brace. For JavaScript developers, by JavaScript developers. For number 4 in our 5-minute React series, we're going to talk about package managers, specifically 2 of them, npm and yarn. npm comes bundled with Node, so assuming you followed tutorial 3 or already had Node installed, you've got npm. Yarn is a separate download, which means another Mac window split here, but this one's much shorter than the previous tutorial, because both versions are basically just download and install it. But we'll get to that. npm is a great package manager, and for simple Node apps, it's more than up to the task of managing your dependencies and keeping your application in line. When you get to building production-ready code, though, Yarn comes in handy for really locking things down and making sure that your app is identical on every possible platform to which you want to deploy it, be they production servers or other engineers' personal workstations. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, because first we should talk a little bit about what package management is. In the Node world, as in many application development platforms, applications are made up of a variety of pieces, including custom JavaScript that you write, various modules that others have written and that you choose to leverage, and possibly other assets like HTML and CSS files, configuration files, maybe a few adorable kitten GIFs, and so forth. npm allows you to install dependencies, bundle up your own packages, and other cool features. Yarn performs all the same tasks, and good news, is compatible with npm. So you can start there and then move to Yarn if you want. We don't want. Yarn's really good and it's easy to use, so there's not a lot of reason to start with npm when building our project. There are some minor differences between the two package managers, but if you learn one, you're basically learning how the other one works too, other than syntax. So I'm going to show you how to use Yarn right from the get-go. But first, let's get it installed. We'll start with OS X. In our last tutorial, we installed Homebrew, so you've already got everything you need to install Yarn. Just open a terminal window and type brew update && brew install yarn. Hit enter. That'll both make sure that you have the latest list of Homebrew apps and get Yarn installed on your Mac. Like with NVM from the last tutorial, we'll need to edit our shell configuration file. For example, mine's .zshrc in my home directory. And append the following line to the end. Export path equals path yarn global bin. Just copy and paste it from the text below. Save the file, exit out, and restart your terminal session. Don't worry if you have other export statements in your configuration file. It appends new directories to the path rather than overwriting. That's it. If you're on OS X, you can skip to using Yarn below. For Windows, this is so straightforward that I'm not actually going to run through it, since I assume you've installed at least one Windows program before in your life. Just go to the install page, click on the download installer button, and run the MSI that gets downloaded. That's it. You're done. Note that you'll need to close and reopen any command prompts you already had open if you want to use Yarn in them. Now let's use Yarn. For this step, we're going to use it to initialize a new package and add a dependency to that package. Then in our next tutorial, we're going to write some code that uses that dependency, and we're going to run our code with node.js to show it working. First, pick a place to store your new package. I'm going with my home directory /tutorial/yarn test. You can literally store this anywhere you want. It's entirely self-contained. Open a terminal window or command prompt if you haven't already, and cd to the directory in which you're going to store this test. If it doesn't already exist, you'll have to create it, which I'm doing here. All good? Well, type yarn init. Press enter, you'll be asked to name your project. I'm going with yarn test. I know, both original and evocative. You can't use spaces here, so don't try it or it'll just yell at you. For version, let's go with 0.0.1. For description, we'll type a test yarn package. And for entry point, we'll just hit enter to use the default index.js. We don't have a repo URL. Well, actually I do. See the tutorial info. But you don't, so leave it blank and hit enter. For author, you can put your name or anything else you'd like, Code Machine or Starlord or Hotpants6969, whatever you like to call yourself. Spaces are okay here. Licensing is outside the scope of this tutorial, but you're unlikely to be distributing this slightly more than Hello World application to anyone, so I'd just hit enter and accept the default MIT license. This just governs the permissions you're giving, telling whether people can or cannot modify and distribute your code. Again, you're not likely to ever be distributing this, so it really doesn't matter. That's it. Assuming you got success saved package.json, you're good to go. If you got something else, that's problematic. Leave a comment and we'll try to get you set up. If you look at what's in your directory now, you'll see a file called package.json. This is the central organizational structure of your package. Open it up and take a look at it in your text editor of choice, and you'll see that it contains all of the information we just entered in JSON format. We're going to be adding to this file, but not manually. though you can certainly do that. Instead, we're going to use yarn itself to do it. Head back to your terminal window and type yarn add map-reverse. Hit enter. You'll see it quickly run through an installation. Congratulations, you've just added a third-party module to your package. If you check out what's in your directory now, you'll see a node modules folder and a yarn.lock file. Don't worry about the latter for now. We'll talk about it when we get much closer to deploying projects. cd to your node modules directory, list its contents, and you'll see that, yep, the map-reverse module is in there. Sweet. cd back up to your yarn test directory or whatever you named it. It's time to create index.js. You can do this however you like, right-clicking in Windows, using touch in the terminal, or just starting in your text editor and saving the file. Sublime lets me just type subl index.js and hit enter, which will launch Sublime with a file named index.js opened, though it won't actually create the file until I hit Command S, which I'm doing now. If you check out package.json again, you'll see that it's added a dependency to your app. This means when anyone else downloads your app and runs yarn install, they'll get map-reverse installed into their node modules folder. This is handy when you have an app that uses several third-party modules, and you don't want people to have to yarn add each of them individually. We're ready to write some code. Hop on over to the next tutorial and let's get started.